Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Because I only have one of my headphones in.
Yeah. That wouldn't affect us.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that was like got a speaker on it or something. I don't know how to
No, that's
works.
like I usually only have one.
This thing right here, that's your speaker.
Yeah.
Oh. Didn't know that.
On episode 85, we teach Danielle about wired technology. All right, let's get this show on the road, as they say. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, or any time in between. Welcome to the Damaged Goods Podcast. It's episode 85. I'm Ramon, and I'm alive.
I'm Danielle. I'm also alive.
I'm Matt, still kicking.
It just rhymed. That's why I threw that in there. Hey.
Still alive. Got it.
Welcome back, everybody, for a fun-packed, jammed session with me, Matt, and Danny. This week, we hope you guys have been having a great week. My energy's on high. I think it got that way once you guys called. I don't think it was like that right before.
No, I feel like when I've talked to you recently, you've been a little, like, down.
Tired and busy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to figure out the way to invent. And I keep looking at guitars online thinking, I should learn to play the guitar because I have plenty of time to do such.
Right, with all your free time.
Yeah. Shout out to all of our listeners. Shout out to the new listeners. Welcome. If this is your last time listening, we'll miss you. But you'll be back. They always come back. Isn't that right, guys? When they leave, they always come back.
Always.
That was a double entendre. I was talking about exes, but yeah. Anyway, we got another fun-packed episode for you guys this week, and I guess we'll get started. Danielle, what national day is it today?
It's National Pretzel Day, which I'm really sad everything's closed down because I love pretzels.
Well, they still come from the store, right?
Yeah, but like Annie Ann's, like in the mall, like normally on National Pretzel Day, I'd go to Annie Ann's, but the mall's closed. And I don't know of any other place that has Annie Ann's pretzels.
I was just reading your notes, and they started in the Catholic Church.
Yeah, so look, and I found out all this information. So pretzels got their start in the Catholic Church. Monks presented their students with treats of baked dough twisted into the shape of crossed arms because crossing one's arms was the traditional posture for prayer during that time.
Like Wakanda, or I'm a little confused.
I get that reference because I just watched Black Panther.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Oh, you're moving on with your Marvel.
I fell off a little bit and I picked back up because my cousin Julie, her husband, he's doing like on his Instagram page every day because he's a bartender, which obviously he's out of work and he works in DC, and so he's doing like every day he's making new drinks and recording it, like a little bartending session and telling you how to do it when he puts in it. And he mentioned in his video that he just rewatched all the Avenger movies. And I was like, oh, I should get back on it.
Oh, you have to give me his thing.
I only have one more to watch.
So you just have to watch Endgame now.
Yeah, and I was going to watch it this morning, but then I saw it was 3 hours and 3 minutes long, and I realized I didn't have time for it.
Yeah, it is. It's funny, though. They wrote it well because it goes by smooth. Like, you don't feel like, oh, my God, only an hour's gone by, etc.
Right. I really loved Black Panther. I see what I like. At first, I was like, oh, there's so much hype about this. What a freaking good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, great movie.
Ryan Coogler did his thing.
Yeah.
Catholic Church, huh? I wonder if they used it. I know one of us at least was thinking it. Did they make the pretzels to Laurel Little Boys?
Oh no!
No, the monks, man, not the priests.
Yeah.
Potato.
Oh no!
I got lost in translation.
And bye to the listener who just clicked off. Sorry.
You'll be back.
You'll be back. You always come back. You realize the value later. You know, it's funny. I've never been a fan of pretzels, but One of our bosses has bought like these 100-pack snack packs that we keep in the office, and they're little pretzel square thingies, and they're kind of cool. And I guess that's the type of pretzels I mean. Like everybody enjoys like the hot, fresh, big doughy pretzel. I'm talking about the little tiny snack ones.
Right.
But it's like an afternoon snack like at 3:00 for all of us every day. So that's
that's something we keep on hand here. Eric really enjoys pretzels, so I went to Sam's Club and I bought like a big like container of it. And when we went through the container, I just went to Walmart and bought like the cheapest like Great Value brand and filled it back up with the Great Value brand, and we just did it that way.
And he'll never know because he doesn't listen to the podcast.
Nope.
That's okay. Eric's super busy, and hopefully he can get my packages here before May 20th.
He's doing good. He's watching my kid right now. So
okay. Shout out to him. Shout out to Paige, getting teeth, standing up and shit.
She's standing up and she's on the couch. She's crawling all over the place. She's so busy all the time. She's so much fun.
She's almost at the stage where she starts randomly breaking shit. That's really fun.
I'm not looking forward to that.
This is the cool stage, and then I like when they move to like 5. It's like it's cool like this for a while, and then I like the stage when they're able to kind of dress themselves and have a good conversation.
Right.
And can wipe themselves better.
Yeah.
So when they start getting a little bit more independent is like when it's fun.
Yeah, I like the independent part. Like she's super independent. She doesn't want you. Like she likes to feed herself. She likes to give herself her bottle. She likes to pull herself up. She doesn't want you to do it for her, and I really like that about it.
Okay.
Like the whole thing. So, yeah.
How you doing, Matthew?
I'm good. Yeah. I was trying to be mindful of the the way the call works, that if you're talking while someone else is talking, it kind of drowns one of the people out. So I wanted to be mindful and not like try to talk over anybody. So I've been waiting my turn.
How's your week been? That's more what I meant.
Oh, that. Yeah. Well, not bad. Daddy duty was as usual. It's kind of, I don't want to say the word routine because there is nothing routine about that 5-year-old. Except, he's hungry all the time. My man can eat.
So can you.
Yeah. So it's putting more strain on my shopping because that means I have to buy more food for the both of us. And I mean, pretty much, we just take naps to take breaks from eating. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to consume way too much here, but I am still gaining weight. Haven't been to the gym, and I just don't really feel, I guess, all that motivated throughout the day to just kind of do push-ups or jumping jacks or anything.
The home workout is hard to get into.
It really is. I have all these places in my house to sit down. And no free weights, so.
You look less defeated than you did a couple weeks ago. Or was that last week when we talked to you and you looked like Aiden had pretty beat you up through the week?
Yeah. I was just I was losing it, but I've had better mental fortitude this week, and just I got my bearings. I have been playing a lot of games on my phone.
Okay.
My neck's kind of hurting right now.
Can't you cast your screen to your TV? Your like big 90-inch TV you have in your living room?
So I could for like YouTube, but when it comes to the games, I don't think they cast. And also I've been playing a lot of games on my phone because, when Aiden's here, it stays on the cartoon.
Oh, right.
Right.
So, that's and if I change it to like anything like Disney or whatever, it's just because we're going to be watching a movie, but it's still a cartoon. So
okay.
Nothing but cartoons. He does actually like watching a little bit of hockey every now and again.
Okay.
I've got some games recorded from earlier in the season before they just stopped playing. So I'll put on some hockey and we'll watch a game or two and have fun that way.
Okay, you guys had on the list that's a nice segue to your NFL draft, the first virtual draft. But you have wrote down it's the first virtual draft, but don't people do like that fantasy football drafting already? Aren't we kind of prepared? They kind of prepared for it.
Yeah, but I think on a grander scale, to have, I mean, everyone was doing it virtually. Did you guys watch it at all? I really look forward to the NFL draft.
No.
Oh, I really it's one of my favorite things, and then March Madness are two of my favorite things about like sports. And I really I thought they did a really nice job pulling everything off for the NFL draft. They, had fans in the background every time a team drafted, so they had them up on the cameras and different, like a Zoom or like us, but like ton more people cheering in the background. It was
They're probably paying the subscription fee.
Probably. I thought they did a really nice job.
Okay. Sorry, we don't have anything to contribute.
That's okay. Sorry. It's just when I wrote the notes, that's what was going on.
I am a sports fan. I do love all kinds of sports. I respect the difficulty, even for tennis and golf. Bowling is not as easy as it looks. These sports are fantastic to watch. However, I don't love all the facets of sports. For example, drafts. To me, the draft, especially the NFL draft, because there's all kinds of drafts. But the NFL one gets the most, I guess the most spotlight as far as the drafts go. But to me, it kind of just seems like a very formalized, what do you call it? Yeah, fantasy football, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Except instead of you and your buddies crowding around and putting names on a chart, it's like the Oscars. This person got elected for this team, and
I can see
stand
that.
up and they go put the hat on, and and it's man, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just a very formalized way of doing it.
Yeah.
So I respect it. It's not my favorite part. I'd rather see that guy do well in the game instead of.
I guess the reason that I like it so much is they give you you find out more about the players. So it's not, rather than just liking the team for who the team is. I've grown to like players, individual players, because I read, and I wouldn't have found myself researching them any other way. But, so I like to hear about their family and see them sitting with their family or who they've chosen to, be around and stuff like that. That's what I like about it.
Okay.
I think, it's a lot of, especially in the NFL, a lot of these people's careers are going to be very short, 5 years, sometimes tops. Rarely do players make it past the 5-year mark. So,
right.
I mean, to me, it's like their 15 minutes of fame. The day you got drafted to the NFL,
Right.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Really? Is that the average longevity for a player in the NFL, 5 years?
Oh, yeah. Now, they're trying to extend that with all their, safety rules that, for example, kickoffs are much shorter so that there's a lot more touchbacks because the kickoffs were one of the things that really got players injured.
Okay.
And they're trying to cut back on all that stuff so that the players can last longer, play more seasons, become more experienced and vetted and tenured. But typically, yeah. Even majority of several professional sports. I mean, if you make it past 5 years, you're doing something pretty good.
Okay. I'm so sensitive to subtle changes in the sound. So if you guys notice, I'm centered in the screen today because I actually moved my laptop from where it normally stands to be in the center so that I can look head on instead of to the side. Gotcha. So I'm used to the noise of the fan coming from over here, and I'm like, what is that noise? That's what I was looking for. Where's that noise coming from? It's the PC. So cool. Everybody in the news is talking about stimulus checks, which for me is odd because I don't know. I'm from an older school of thought where you don't really discuss your finances and stuff openly like that. So I'm just so surprised to see so many people talking about getting their stimulus checks, not getting your stimulus checks. There's that one meme that's funny that you guys have probably seen going around where the top is like a guy texting the girl in her response, and the guy's like texting the girl, "Hey, I got my stimulus check. Why don't you come through?" And her response is, "Oh, you make less than $75,000 a year." So I don't know. What do you guys think about it?
I mean, I was super excited when I got my stimulus check, and I don't mind telling people.
Okay.
And it's gone already. Because we bought new furniture a while ago, and we just put the stimulus check towards the furniture and then put the rest in savings.
Okay.
So it's nice to be out from under a bill I thought we'd be paying for at least a year.
Okay. Smart.
I mean, it paid, it dropped in my account suddenly. I'm like, oh, hey, there it is. And then it was, it's going to be gone on the 1st for my mortgage. So, it's here and then it's there, man.
Yep. Heard that.
I mean, it doesn't, like, to me, it helped soften the blow of all the bills that still keep coming.
Right.
Yeah.
It took care of my mortgage 1 month and my cable internet from Comcast. So that's about it.
It's funny to me the way some of these people are responding. Like when everything first was announced, we got what I thought was one of the most insensitive emails ever. Because if you've noticed, anybody you've ever given your email address to, you've gotten a email about what their response is to COVID-19. And so our leasing agent sent a thing, and it was like, hey, make sure that you work your finances out right so you could pay your rent on time. I'm like, okay. And then like a week later, they sent one out, and it was like, hey, we want to help you during these times. And I'm like, oh, that's nice for them to offer something. And it was, here's where you can go to apply for unemployment or other assistance if you need it to make sure you pay your rent on time.
Yo.
And then recently, I think they sent one out that if anybody who pays their rent 5 days between, I think it's like 5 days before the 1st or on the 1st, we'll give you a $25 credit.
I would be there before the 1st every month.
Yeah, it's typically how it is anyway, but I just think it's funny how like whoever's the PR person that's writing their shit, they're not very good at coming across sensitive.
Oh,
and I get it. I always see both sides of things. Like I understand a business has to maintain, right? I understand, especially as a business owner, if you're not only looking after your livelihood, but you're looking at the livelihood of the people who work for you as well. And, you don't want to lose your business. So I kind of get it. But like anything, there's a way to say stuff and to communicate information. So
yeah,
maybe they'll eventually get it. I just think it's funny. What do you guys think about, I know this wasn't on the notes, but it's been huge. And the people that are protesting that they want to come outside already.
I mean, I just feel like you should stay home. I mean, obviously easier for me to say because I don't have to stay home like most people do, but
right.
I just, Georgia just recently opened their state back up. And I mean, they're going to be the state to watch. We'll see how, if their numbers go back up and if more people get infected or what. But I just feel like it's too soon to be opening.
What I think is interesting, I haven't researched it myself, but kind of 2 points here. I saw this post and they talked about during the Spanish flu epidemic in Philly, how Philadelphia opened up early and then they experienced so many more deaths because they were premature. And again, I haven't researched. It's weird. I feel like sometimes when you're researching stuff on the internet, how can you trust it unless you like went to it versus going to a library and actually seeing like microfilm of the newspaper or whatever. And then how can you trust that? But the other point I think too with Georgia, I think they're making the decisions on, Georgia's mostly a big giant rural state. And then you have Atlanta, that's a super crowded, compact, overpopulated probably state that could be highly more affected than the rest of Georgia. Like I look at where like, and I don't know if it's the same for you, Matt, but I look at like the number of cases back home in Jersey where I'm from compared to here in Delaware, it's because we're more spread out and not as populated, with the exception of Newcastle County, which has experienced significantly more cases than Kent and Sussex. I couldn't think of the other county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Atlanta, but I'm going to assume it's a lot like Dallas. where there's a high density population, but at the same time there's a lot of room down there. It's not like the Northeast and the South. Especially Texans, we have a thing about, I've got a lot of land and it costs a lot less than it does in the Northeast, or the West for that matter. And I'm putting a lot of land between me and my neighbor on purpose. So yeah, it may be a high density population, but there's a lot more room. So
I just look at I give you an example. I went to go to Wawa yesterday, and as I'm walking out, I see somebody coming out behind me with a bag of trash, and I'm not going to just let the door slam in their face, right? So I kind of extend my elbow, and my elbow's holding the door open so the guy can walk through. And then he starts to have a conversation with me. So he's like, "Oh, so how you making out during this day?" I'm like, "Oh, it's not really different for me. I'm lucky. I still have a job. I'm still going to work. So, not much is different." But then he wants to keep walking with me and having a conversation as I'm going to my car. So I'm like, "All right, man, I'll see you later." And then when I come back, he's sitting on the porch with another person on the stairs, rather, excuse me. So now like 6 feet, I have to squeeze in between them to get to the door. It's like little irresponsible things like that are kind of annoying.
It is.
So my point is, like, if people are acting like that when we're on lockdown, if you take those restrictions away, how much are they going to act like that? And then you have the belief of some people that if, I hate calling people stupid, but if they're stupid enough to do it, then maybe they deserve the consequences that they receive. Why are you smiling so big?
Yeah, man. Like if you're dumb enough to like put yourself at risk, then I guess you kind of get what you deserve,
I just worry is like oftentimes when you hear about a bad drunk driving accident, it's typically not the drunk driver that is suffered the worst injuries compared to the people that are injured in the accident.
Right. Yeah. So. One thing though, like recently in our office, one of our patients had an unexpected miscarriage. And so the tech who was working that day, and our patients have to come alone. So she found out by herself. The tech wasn't expecting it. The patient wasn't expecting it. So the tech normally would comfort the patient and, because of this whole 6 foot or 6 feet distancing rule, didn't feel comfortable, going over to comfort said patient. And I felt like I really liked the patient that was there. And I felt awful for her. And so, like, my compassion took, I think, in that instance, the compassion I have for my patient was definitely a priority for me over any 6 feet social distancing rule. And I went to her room and I gave her a hug and I cried with her because she was so upset. And
did your goggles fill with water?
No, I didn't. They didn't fill with water. But and so I feel like, yes, social distancing is super, super important. But I also think the compassion, needs to keep being a priority as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
well, there's definitely a lot of, I wouldn't say compassion, but at least a lot of passion for those people who want to protest, lift the lockdown. I honestly don't feel comfortable without getting like the scientific, backing that it's all clear.
Right.
Until then, I'm trying to play it safe as best I can.
Well, we do have Lysol and bleach and stuff, so that we can inject into our veins.
I don't know about that one, man.
I'm with you kind of, though. Like, even after they say, "Hey, guys, you can go on outside," I'm like, all right, I'll see you guys in 30 more days just to see what happens.
Exactly. People are going to be lining up. I'm going to wait for the traffic to clear out first,
Yeah.
Someone said the other day, where's the first place that you're going to go once the state opens back up? It's in my living room. I'm not going anywhere. You guys test it out first, and then we'll come out.
Yeah. You put your toe in the water. Let me know how it is.
Right.
But I'm kind of with you. I like to see some scientific evidence, real scientific evidence of.
Real scientific.
It's funny. We all opened our mouth to talk, but politely waited for the other person to start, and then none of us started.
You had the floor, bro.
It's funny. We read each other's social cues better in person.
I think you're right.
No, it isn't. I hope I don't have to say this to anyone that you should not ingest. Although, while I'm saying this, I do remember a period where people were swallowing Tide Pods. So
Right.
it may need to be said that you should not ingest the chemicals in disinfectant. Even when you're washing the bathroom, if you're in a bathroom, it's typically smaller, and you're using like really harsh chemicals to clean your bathroom. That's not good for you, even to be breathing the vapor in. So imagine taking it in.
You know, when President Trump said that, like, you are cool. Like, it's good that you're trying to think outside the box and think about, you know, what might work versus what might not work. But maybe you should do that privately and not publicly, and run that by someone first before you publicly say, hey, maybe Lysol injections, that might be a good idea. Like,
now the ultraviolet light thing isn't significant, and isn't significantly far off. I know of a physician that does ultraviolet blood irradiation, and what it does is your blood's withdrawn from your body, and then it's passed back through into your body, but it goes through UV light to stimulate the light. So could you inject UV light into the body? Now, if you go through and read articles on it, and this one I know about because I have to, these are articles that say, you know, different things. Of course, UV light, if you're exposed to it, that's radiation. It's not good for you, but there have been studies that show where it even helps patients with cancer, etc. So that one might be a more feasible thing, but still need to be investigated. I don't know.
Thoroughly investigated.
When I was watching that report about what President Trump was talking about, I mean, Danny, I'm with you on that. Like, dude, you don't have to say everything that comes to your mind, bro. You really don't. Because, you know, it's just like, I don't know, I guess it's the not so common sense culture we have now these days that, you know, President Trump says something like that and people start just like, well, where's the Lysol? You know, let me drink the remaining juice from all those Lysol wipes. Because, you know, when you get done with the wipes, you got like somehow like, I don't know, this much juice at the bottom. You're like, I can't. And Lysol had to like backtrack it and just be like, just so we're clear, don't drink this shit or inject it into yourself. Like, Lysol was like, no, please don't do it. I mean, because you have to. That's the unfortunate part about like this culture, is that this society these days, that you have to go back and say, don't do that. Actually, that's not a good idea. But I mean, that's also going back to the whole quarantine thing. People are like, yeah, we want to get out and do stuff and get haircuts and shit. And they're like, there's doctors and scientists that are like, don't do that. Please don't do that. You're just going to push us all back even further.
Yeah. I like what Cuomo said when he was like, if you want to go outside, go be an essential worker.
Oh.
But, you know, maybe that's one of Trump's character flaws. He doesn't know how to think before he speaks. You know what I mean?
No,
I think that is 100% one of his top character flaws.
No filter.
No, none. Yeah. Say what you want. I mean, there is some good that's come out of this presidency, even if you dislike the man strongly. But yeah. Nobody's perfect, and we all have character flaws.
Speaking of, that's what we're going to discuss today.
Danielle, I be working the segues in real smooth, and then you get excited about it, and we can see you now getting excited about it, and then you're like, speaking of.
Oh, yeah.
But guess what, guys? We're talking about character flaws today. So, talking about things that are a fault and a weakness in a person's character. I don't know. Where do you want to start?
Well, I looked up like what some of the 10 ugliest character flaws were, and I have some of them for sure. Wasn't sure if anyone else took a look at that, but I have some of them.
I was reading it like I feel like these were hand-picked for me. I'm just
well, no, I wouldn't say
personally attacked right now.
Based on our list here, 10 is not you, Matthew.
No, I mean, I know.
Yeah,
I'm not
there's
saying
several
all
of these
them,
that aren't you.
but, like, I don't know, bro. Like, there's some I'm like, man, I do seem kind of, a little bit that way and that way, and I've definitely done that before, and
Yeah.
it's all good. Hey, just knowing it is half the battle.
I think my top, like my number one character flaw is my need to have the last word. My being super argumentative. I think that's probably one of my top, and I'm guarantee you my husband would agree with me that that's probably one of my top character
We're probably going to
flaws.
hear him yell down the stairs in agreement.
Yeah.
Let's see. Arrogance is on here. I've been accused of that one. I don't know that I'm arrogant. What do you guys think?
I don't think you're arrogant.
And I haven't been accused of it in 10 years now, but
I was about to say, like, I'm sure there are probably times where you could be found a slight, especially in your younger years, I assume as well. Like, the older you get, the more humble and wiser you are. And so you think before you speak more often. But as a young Ramon, I'm pretty sure you've had your moments where you just came across.
It was actually more middle. Because I think I lacked a lot of self-confidence younger. I was a kid who was teased for being a nerd and et cetera, blah, 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 blah. And so I think I lacked a set of confidence. And then I think I learned to project confidence. And in the process of learning to do that, I probably over-projected confidence almost to a point seemingly of arrogance to kind of hide some of those insecurities. And then I moved into another stage where I'm just comfortable with what I'm not perfect at.
Right. Yeah, I'm still working on some of mine. I would like to say that some of my character flaws were when I was younger, but some of my character flaws are still going on right now. I look at myself as a constant work in progress. Some days are clearly better than others for me.
Right.
I am trying really, and I feel like I've gotten a lot better walking away before saying something that I shouldn't say. That's a big one for me, is being able to just walk, because I can't, because someone will say something and
that's the same face and finger point that you always do right when you're about to combat a point.
It's word vomit. Like, I can't even stop it from, like, I can't even stop the words from coming out most of the time, but I really feel like I have really had to dig deep inside me. And I think Eric would even agree that I've gotten better at just trying not to respond.
Now, I'll play devil's advocate here. If you feel a way about something, shouldn't you respond?
It's the way in which you respond.
Okay.
So yes, I'm a responsive person. That's just how I am. And I like to talk things out. So if I have an issue with someone, I like to address that. I don't like to beat around the bush. I don't like to sweep shit under the rug. But there's a way that you can go about it when, like, Eric and I are having an argument or a disagreement. I don't need to be so loud. I don't need to talk over him because I know what he's going to say. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then when I find myself in a position where I realize this is being counterproductive, then maybe rather than having this conversation right now, we should disperse. And by dispersing, I should literally leave the room so that we can discuss at a later date if we need to.
Okay. No, I think that's a real thing, because I know when I'm biting my tongue, it's killing me inside, and the me letting it kill me inside is making me angry, so that the next thing that I have to talk about, if I haven't addressed that, I'm still pissed about that, and then you get the ugly attitude-filled reaction.
Yes.
So I agree with you. It's definitely about figuring out how to respond without being like so combative.
Mm-hmm.
I know I have a problem with coming across as arrogant and argumentative. It's kind of my personality, but the thing about it is I don't really do it mostly to like put anyone down. It's more like I'm testing their will, like their fortitude, have an argument with me for a little bit. Let's just argue. I like to play devil's advocate. I like to see from different points of view, and I like to argue just for the debate. I mean, let's debate about it for a little while. You speak your points. I have a few points. I'm not saying anybody's right. I'm just because I'm usually not. So,
see.
But I like to argue. Yeah. You see, of course you are. But you see, I like to argue just to like practice trying to sound correct and confident. Confidence is a part of that, and it comes across as cocky and arrogant. But I mean, that's just a part of my confidence. It's just a personality flaw. Trait of mine. I don't think it's a flaw per se. I think it's just who I am.
So is that why you hate 90% of movies that most people like? You're just practicing your argumentative ability.
I'll get to that in a little while. It's a little bit further down on notes that I wrote something about that fits right in with why I don't like most movies people like.
You started to say something, Danny. I cut you off.
No. I was just going to say, you said you don't think that it's a character flaw, and that's when I was discussing this topic, I was talking about it at work because I did all this while I was at work. And I agree. What some people might consider a flaw, I might consider one of my strengths. My yes, being argumentative is a flaw. Don't get me wrong, but in the right setting, I really do think it's a strength. Being argumentative and standing up for other people. And being bold and stuff like that. Like in some situations that is a character flaw, but in the right situations it's definitely not.
Right. Okay. Dishonesty. Oh, sorry. Dishonesty. I don't think there's really a whole hell of a lot there, but I would say that is a character flaw. I guess we could talk about why do people feel the need to be dishonest? And the first thing I think about, I'm always like trying to consider the way another person feels and why they do something. And I don't know if that's a byproduct of being in a debate team in high school. So you're always trying to see both sides of the argument, which actually helps you win the argument. But that being said, are people dishonest because they're self-conscious about something? Like, I remember telling a story in high school that my hair is naturally red and I have to dye it because I just thought it was a cool, interesting fact. Like, I meant no malice by it. And then one girl was like, well, how can we never see your roots? And I'm like, oh. Well, I haven't thought that through because I don't know anything about dyeing my hair because I've never had to do it. So, what do you think are the reasons? And I think when we're talking about character flaws, we're not talking about the person that's occasionally dishonest. We're talking about the person that's habitually, it's almost a part of who they are.
I think people who feel like they have to lie about a lot of stuff have a lot of insecurities. Because I just feel like if you were comfortable with who you are and how you are and your traits and your qualities, you wouldn't need to lie. And I'm not saying, but, and people do lie. Don't get me wrong. I lie. Everyone lies. But someone who lies habitually like that, I feel like that's right. That's an inner issue that they have with themselves.
Joe Goldberg lied a lot in that show. You on Netflix?
Oh, yes. He sure did.
Lots of dishonesty in that show. And the funny thing about it's not funny, but these lies keep compounding. And the lie gets bigger and bigger. Your dishonesty, you go further and further up Schitt's Creek. And it's like, in order to really rectify it, because we're not Joe Goldberg's and shit and figuring out a way to somehow get out of every fucking mess he ever got in. But for the most part, being truthful and coming clean and being honest is the best way to rectify, what you just did, reconcile, actually, I'm sorry. your dishonesty. But like Danny said, like, we all lie. I got pretty good at it as a young man. And I would say things to get what I wanted. Like, I would try to be as persuasive as possible, even if it was dishonest. But the thing is, though, is that now, I like to think I've matured a little bit because I don't like lying. I know what kind of shit you can get into from it. So I don't even surround myself with people that I feel like I would need to lie to. Sorry, bro, I can't hang out this weekend because I'm on daddy duty. Weren't you on daddy duty last weekend? Yeah, but 2 weekends kind of I just can't, and like to have to lie to somebody like that, I just don't even want to surround myself.
It makes
with
it
those people.
stressful. Yeah,
it really does.
Right. Well, I've known people who will lie because they tell you, what they think you want to hear, rather than just telling you what they need to tell you.
Oh yeah,
I would much rather.
I got good at.
Right. I would much rather someone be honest with me, as hard as the truth may be. I respect honesty a hell of a lot more than someone who's just patting me on the butt and telling me what they think I want to hear.
Right.
Excuse me, run that back. What are they patting you?
I would rather someone tell me the truth rather than them telling me what they think I want to hear.
Oh no, I got that part. I was just
Patting me on my butt, sending me on my way by telling me what they think I want.
Good game. You just want to touch my ass.
Short-tempered and combative.
That's my dad. My dad, like, that was when I read that, I was like, that is exactly who my dad was. He would fight you. Like, he didn't give a fuck.
Now, let me ask this question again, always looking at the other side. What if the person who appears to be short-tempered is the person who really hasn't told you how they've been feeling about something? And to you, it seemed you're the exclusion in this example, Danny. But so they've been keeping in, like, Eric didn't close the counters again. Eric didn't close the cabinet again. Eric didn't close the cabinet again. So then by the 5th time when you've bumped your head or your knee on a cabinet and you go berserk, the person who's receiving it may think that you're short-tempered, but you've been dealing with it yourself for like 5 months.
Yeah, that's true. That's not me, but I can see how that could be another person.
Okay.
I am 100% short-tempered. I am really working on it. I've gotten a lot better. Like a lot better. So I would definitely say that although it was a character flaw of mine, I don't even know that I would characterize myself as being short-tempered all the time.
Okay.
But still occasionally, she pops out.
I don't know. I've been trying to bait you in arguments on the episodes for like months. Well, I stopped now, but there were months where I was trying to bait you in an argument and you wouldn't even argue with me. I'm like, God, who the hell told her to fucking improve and change?
Personal growth, man.
Who the hell? You actually listened to that last 5 minutes when I talk about personal growth, and then you had the nerve to act upon it?
Personal growth. I'm here for it.
No, but I say that to say, like, yeah, I think, and of course we don't see what goes on when you close the laptop lid there, but I think just from what I've observed personally and just seeing you with other people, like, you have made leaps and bounds on the goals you have set in the areas of personal growth. Kudos.
Thank you.
I mean, your story about, what was it, calling Comcast or something like the Xfinity or something.
Chesapeake Utilities.
Yeah, and I think that was the one where you weren't supposed to be like the new guy was telling you that you weren't an authorized user or something.
Oh, no, it was Comcast.
So that one, like, that was one of those opportunities where you can be like, listen here, motherfucker, and just rip them a new one, right? But instead, like, you tried your best to keep cool as best as possible and get a manager on the phone, is like, I want to take the survey. I was like rolling. They're like, oh, you can't. Like, she's going to take the goddamn survey. I bet You bet your sweet ass is going to take a call back just to be able to take a fucking survey.
Or just go to Google or Yelp, or there's so many outlets for people to share their opinion.
There sure are.
Whether it's valid or not.
Right.
Matthew, do you want to talk about the need to always be right?
Actually, I do. Fucking A. You know what? I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go to my notes because I made the notes. They're going to be all right. So my notes say, okay. Now here's the thing about being always right. It's fun. But then you realize sometimes that like you're not always right. And that keeps you kind of humbled. I would say though that the need to always be right isn't nearly as bad as those one-uppers.
Okay.
Deflection. Okay.
Now, do you go into things though? Would you say you go into things with the need to be right?
No, I just, it goes back to the whole arrogance thing. I like to think I already am right. Because I'm not a dumb guy, but
Agreed.
at the same time, like there are plenty of times that, Bestie has put me in check and corrected me very quickly on something that I messed up. And I've learned from that, especially someone keeping me like kind of humbled and put me in check whenever whenever I obviously make a mistake. I've learned that like I got to be a little more humbled by that. Like, okay, dude, you're not always right. You can pretend to act like you're right, but you don't have to be right. We can agree to disagree.
Here's what's different. My observation about you needing to be always right. I don't think you ever come off like you'll have a conversation. It's like, hey, Ra, I have this question. What do you think about this? And then I give you what I believe is the right thing for you in the situation. And then you argue points why it isn't. And then you agree that my advice is probably the better in this particular moment. But then you go and do everything opposite of what we just discussed was the right path. So you're always want to be right is kind of different than most people's. Like most people want to argue the point. You're like, no, I agree. What you're saying makes sense. I'm going to go do the other thing though. Oh shit, we lost Matt. Oh, there he is.
Sorry, somebody called me.
Oh.
Can't control that.
No, sir.
No, you can't.
Well, you could put your phone on airplane mode and then just use Wi-Fi.
Shit, really?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to work for this call, man. I'm not going to risk it.
Yeah, no, but I don't know if you heard everything I said.
Basically, you're telling me I'm a walking contradiction. And that's pretty accurate, dude. Like, we just had an episode. Oh, shit. Just had an episode on Sarcastic and Sincere about that. Talking about my contradictions and how I'm not very good at being right, and you tell me one thing, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, it sounds like a really good idea. I think I'll go with that idea, and then completely do the opposite, just like that. So I don't know, man. I have yet to figure out why I do that. I just know that it's a problem of mine. I wouldn't say I guess it's kind of a problem. Keeps getting me into stupid shit, so I guess you could say it's a problem.
But you don't understand like the rationale for it?
No.
Like, as you said, you don't feel like you need to be right, but it's almost kind of like I think like back to being a kid and your parents would tell you this is the thing you should do. And you're like, well, I'm an adult. I know what I'm talking about. I'm 17 and a half. I've been on this planet. I know my shit. I'm smart. And then you do the thing that they told you shouldn't do. And then they was right all the fuck along. Do you think it's like that?
Yeah, exactly like that. In fact,
okay.
I think it's, I need people consistently working on the reverse psychology on me because otherwise I'm going to do what they don't want me to do. I guess I never grew out of that trait.